Between the two of them, the inside of Coates, Barker gets too heavily involved. And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Hello everybody and welcome one and all for the Academy powered by VRRC Clio Cup. My name is Jack Oliphant and as ever in the virtual commentary box is Dave Marshall. Dave, how the devil are you?
Yeah, back at Snetterton yet again, doing very, very well. And I tell you what, last night's action in the Super Touring round here, I think these Clios, if I'm truly honest, are going to be even better still.
Yeah, I hope so, because I used all my Snetterton facts up last night, so I've had very few fillers to begin with. So, yeah, but it should be good. Hopefully, everybody out there is familiar with the format that we're going to be cracking on with today. It's basically exactly the same as it was yesterday if you were watching the Super Touring. 15 minutes of qualifying, which is about to get underway. Race 1 will be 20 minutes. Race 2 will be 20 minutes. However, the difference between last night and tonight is the fact that last night was a full reverse grid. Tonight will be a top 10 reverse grid. Dave, can you just confirm my facts there?
Yeah, 100% correct. Yeah, so only top 10, but with the grid being slightly smaller, with it being the Academy, it does mean it is almost a full reverse grid anyway. So there's only going to be about 2 or 3 drivers not getting on that reverse grid, but absolutely crucial in their bottom end spots to try and at least crawl your way into 10th position.
Yeah, they're going to have to be well on top of that as well, aren't they, if they do end up having a bad race 1. However, if you're having a good race 1 and a good race 2, you're probably going to be thinking about potential prizes. The prizes are on your screen now. First place in the overall championship will bag you a set of AOC gaming headphones. I'm currently using mine right now, and they are fantastic, I have to say. 2 hours of one-to-one online coaching as well, included in that first place prize. So 2 really nice bits of prize given away there, to be fair. Second place, the Power Max car valeting bucket. The driver of the day in the Super Touring gets the Power Max bucket every single week. So if you're interested in bagging yourself one of them and you come into the show quite late, then you can also jump onto the Tuesday nights. You also get a 1 hour one-to-one online coaching session if you come second in the championship. And in third, you get a 1 hour race car setup coaching session as well, and a 1 hour one-to-one coaching session. And Dave, basically, we say it every week, but they're all aimed at trying to give people the opportunity to get better, aren't they?
That is the whole idea behind the Academy. It's all about trying to give drivers the confidence and the knowledge to go faster and improve as drivers and car control, and then get them further up the tables, and also allow them to feel like if they enter the bigger championships, they actually stand a chance against these aliens who do it day in, day out, and normally obliterate other drivers. But I tell you what, we've seen a few of the Academy drivers now start to go into these other races, like a Super Touring last night, and we had the likes of Paul Zanetechi, Kyle Felvis, Nicky Taylor, all mixed up in towards the top 5 of the overall last night. So this is definitely working, in my opinion.
It absolutely is. And 3 drivers that really pushed forward last time out at Donington were Nicky Taylor, Carl Felvis and Mick Sutton. Nicky Taylor taking the overall points, and Mick Sutton coming 3rd in the overall points for that one. Carl Felvis wedged himself right in the middle, and Nicky Taylor actually took home driver of the round as well. They don't get any prizes for driver of the round in the Academy, but we always like to give a special shout out to those drivers who we think have done a particularly good job over the course of the 2 races. Looking a little bit further forward at the championship, Nicky Taylor with 100 points and 4 points off Kyle Felvis. Those two very much neck and neck. It's Nicky Taylor been struggling slightly in the Super Touring Championship, but he's very much strong here in the Clio Cup. Robin Walters in 3rd place at the moment, 86 points, 10 points off Kyle, but that's really not a lot considering we're only 50% of the way through this championship. Martin Johnson, king of the reverse grid, is in 4th place with Mick Sutton in the top 5. Paul Zanetechi, slightly surprisingly, outside the top 5. He's in 6th with Nathan Blank, Paul Laramie, John Jones, Kenny Press rounding out the top 10. And with all that said and done, I think it's about time, Dave, that we maybe showed Snetterton from the perspective of a Clio Cup car. So you're going to take us through it on the VT. Roll it.
So across the line here for round 4 of the Clio Cup Academy, powered by VRRC, down towards turn 1 here, braking at that second marker on the left hand, and then trying to get as soon on the power as we can just to carry as much momentum. A little bit on the grass there, so we just got to be a bit careful going at the hairpin here, down to 2nd gear, and then make sure we pick up that throttle, but we know we don't have to take that throttle back off. That is absolutely key to getting the best amount of speed out the corner exit as possible. Roll it in fourth, just getting that initial pitch and then picking up that throttle from about halfway around the corner. Fourth gear just about hands enough on boost there, but really need to drop it down to third. Braking as late as we dare for the second hairpin down to second and doing exactly the same technique, making sure that we're only picking up that throttle when we know we don't have to lift that throttle back off. Fourth gear through Hamilton, just a little pitch in. What a nice corner this is. So actually just running a little bit wide, but not to worry there as long as we carry good speed through there. Trying to carry a slightly tighter line on exit here. It's very easy to run too far wide. It actually adds a few tenths on your lap without really thinking you're doing anything wrong. And then trying to carry as much momentum onto the back straight here as possible. Down the Bentley straight, this is probably your best chance for a good solid overtake. Down towards the bridge, if you've got a driver coming up behind you, you make sure you send them going right. Don't allow them to get on the inside here in the braking area. Super late on the brakes, hold third in on that curbing. That allows you to open up that right-hander as much as possible. Absolutely flat through the bobble, no worries here at all in this car. And then in probably the most difficult set of corners, carrying fifth in the corner here, holding a tight line, and then slowly letting it fade out in the middle of the track there, down to fourth, down to third, letting the car turn in there, down to second just before the left-hander, and focusing on getting a good exit out of Murray's onto the centre straight. Make sure you tune in from 7:15 on VRRC's Facebook and YouTube on Wednesday nights.
And we're back with live pictures. We're just under 10 minutes to go in this qualifying session. You can see how they've sort of sorted themselves out already. We're already in the 206s, which is probably around about where you'd expect these drivers to be, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them cars that even if you get someone who is used to being at the front of the grid, there's sort of not much more to get out the car. So Nicky Taylor, a 206.2, exactly what I did in quali. I think in practice someone got into the 206 once, but other than that, there isn't really anything more to find in the car. This is probably where one of the drivers proves me wrong, but it means that the quick drivers and the people who are chasing them quick drivers all seem to end up within them about 2 to 3 tenths, so incredibly close lap times. And sure enough, there's Robin Walters in second place, just a hundredth off Nicky Taylor there in pole on that 206.2.
Yeah, they're already racing each other, it seems, as
They
well
are
as
as well,
they're going
yeah.
down Brundle and Nelson. Probably not the base. I think it's the reason why is because I think it was Nicky Taylor and Robin Walters that we were actually watching then, maybe falling over each other somewhat. But they're both on purple sectors. So Nicky Taylor, purple sector 1. Robin Walters, purple sector 2, although that was on the previous lap, so I'm not entirely sure whether the timing tower is caught up or maybe they've been into the pits, I'm not sure. But either way, potentially very quick lap times around and about, getting battered about. So, apparently it's Brad Smith he was battling, my apologies there. So as Nicky Taylor goes over the line, it's, I don't think, going to be a massive improvement at all. In fact, no, it's a 10th down. Robin Walters still a 10th down. Carl Felder's in 3rd place, goes purple in sector 3. 206.5. Wait to see him maybe crossing the line next time round. So a fair few drivers pushing the apple cart. I'd say Paul Zanetechi in the 207s. There we go, 207.6. Good drive by him, but he's probably one of the drivers that we're more surprised about, Dave, that he's not getting to grips with this a little bit quicker.
Yeah, so I think this is probably just a case now of drivers starting to chop and change a little bit too much between different cars, meaning they're not really feeling at home in any particular car, if that makes sense. So Paul Zanetechi is now doing the Super Touring that we saw last night. He's very, very quick in that indeed. But I think going from the quite leery front wheel drive, bigger power Super Touring back into this Clio just seems to take him a little bit longer to adapt. So might not see his outright speed in quali or even in race 1. But he tends to normally get the hang of it by about race 2. So definitely still a driver to watch. He's a very, very good driver and a good racecraft as well. So definitely don't rule him out. The likes of Taylor, Walters and even Felvers just seem to switch it on so quick with this car.
Yeah, we will have to keep an eye on it though. But to be fair as well, I suppose if he's only got a certain amount of time to practice during the week, Dave, he's probably going to pick the Super Touring, because in the silver category, he's fighting for a championship, isn't he? And whereas in the Clios, he's already down to 6th position. So it does come the practice time, and I suppose what you prioritise does come into it, doesn't it?
It does. And to be fair, you're saying he's fighting for top prize in silver, which is obviously where the prizes are in the championship for him. But he's actually fighting for nearly podium positions in the overall, which is absolutely outstanding from an academy driver. And yeah, it just shows really how far Paul has come since joining VRRC and using the academy to really increase the rate of his progress.
Robin Walters and Carl Felvis improving their times on the sectors. Anyway, Nicky Taylor comes across the line. It's a green sector 2. It's not good enough, though, to improve on where he's been before, unfortunately for him. I think it was actually just about bang on the same. As Robin Walters is coming towards Bomb Hole now. Interesting fact about this corner. Obviously, some may say that Bomb Hole sounds like a particular part of the body. Apparently, it wasn't where a bomb hit, which a lot of people probably would say. Apparently, it's because it's an old airfield, Snetterton. Looks like it could be a hole where a bomb had fallen, but actually it was named after the part of the body that you think it's named after. But because of broadcasting in the sort of late 60s and 70s when we started coming here, they had to change it because we couldn't name the actual name of that body part on stream and onto broadcast television. As Robin Walters goes into pole position, I'll stop ranting about the history lesson of Snetterton, and I'll notice that the fact that he's gone 2/10 clear, 206.056. Dave, you said they couldn't get into the 201s.
I mean, honestly, that is a ridiculously fast lap time. I was watching that last sector, and you've got to be so committed there, round that second to last corner before that left, and have the confidence that the car isn't going to break away. If you have any doubt on that pedal, that you think, if I press this a little bit too hard, it'll go around, by the time you've thought of that and trying to get the balance of the car, you'll have lost the speed that Robin Walters is actually carrying into there. So fair play, putting it all on the line. And you probably know what this is like, Jack. If you've got a good lap time and you can see that delta on the board, to have the commitment to go into a corner when you know you've got a good lap that you're on, it almost puts more pressure on that corner than just to try and hook it up anyway, because you want to then make that lap count. So fair play, Robin. Very impressive lap time there. I tell you what, Nicky Taylor might respond to this. I've seen him still put a few green sectors in, and he can go faster than what he's done. So will he hook it up? Kyle Felvis getting closer and closer as this session gets a little bit further on. 4 minutes left. We've seen Kyle do this on the very last lap before, where he'll go and put a time within about a 10th of pole. So let's keep an eye on Felvis as well for possibly going quicker.
Yeah, Paul Laramie's putting some well decent time, but Nicky Taylor and Carl Felvis are actually both in the pit lane at the moment, so it doesn't look like they're really that bothered about coming back out. Maybe they're trying to time it as best they can. In fact, I can see Nicky Taylor is actually coming out the pit as Andy Carroll is flying past them. And Mick Sutton is as well. So Carl Felvis probably will, as Andy Carroll flies up the order, 207.3. into the top 5. That's going to upset Paul Laramie somewhat, because he's just set a good lap time as well in the previous lap. So there we go. Andy Carroll flying up the order. And was it Andy Carroll, Dave, that we were talking about having being on holiday last week?
He has. So he's missed 2 rounds, unfortunately, of the academy while sunning it up in the south of Spain, I believe. So yeah, he's come back all recharged and actually found himself right in the mid-pack again and battling really hard with the likes of Nathan Black, Paul Laramie and Paul Zanetecchi. So right in the heart of the battle. And I tell you what, this is one of them scenarios where Robin, Nicky and Kyle, we know how much they like to battle and they battle hard. This is a brilliant chance for the likes of Nathan Blanc and Andy Carroll to capitalise that very early on in the race.
Yeah, Robin Walters then. He must be feeling pretty comfortable though, Dave. I mean, in terms of Gavin's pole position, I think everyone knows that it's going to be a fight like you just mentioned. But
yeah,
he must be pretty confident, thinking I've stuck that time in. That is throwing a gauntlet down, and a fairly heavy one as well.
Yeah, 2 minutes left of the session. He's in the pits. He hasn't come back out. I honestly think he's done one of them qualifying laps where he goes, you know what? That's all I've got, and if someone can go out there and beat it, fair play, but that is me done. And he's got out the car and walked away. And I know drivers who's done that. I know Alex Toth Jones did that in the Ginetta around Thruxton and basically said that was everything I had in the car, came in and got called into park firmly, didn't realise he didn't put it on pole. So yeah, I think Robin Walters there has done the typical get out the car, job's done, and let's see what everyone else has got.
Yeah, you see the opposite. I actually experienced Harry King do that in the Genettas, and he always just come in and he would just put, oh, Brad Smith going into 4th place. I'll carry on my story in a second as we're watching Nicky Taylor. No quick sectors from Nicky, so we're not expecting that one to be challenging, but the next one, he's probably warmed the car up a little bit, and there we go, full commitment into Ritchie's, into the first apex, missing the second one, but opening the wheel up to maybe get a good run out of Ritchie's and down towards the second corner. Nice and sharp on the brakes there. Get the car turned in. Just about making it for the late apex. Open the wheel up again and get the power down. I have to say, driving the car very nicely here is Nicky Taylor as he comes flying through the left-hander. Turn 3. Ooh, just about holding on to the apex there and not running too wide, but probably could have ran a little bit wider than that, to be honest. Davies had a little bit of curve to play with there. Maybe that's an extra couple of miles per hour he was going to need as he dives down into Agostini again, late on the brakes, trying to use that front wheel drive to drag the front end round and get that sort of slightly later apex. Does use the curb on the right hand side of Agostini this time as he goes towards Hamilton. Don't know if it's just a lift or if it's a brake, Dave. I suppose you can tell us that one, but he runs really nicely wide.
Yeah, it's just a little lift, no brakes all through the left there. If I'm honest, it looked like a little bit of like, right, this is the lap I need to do it on sort of nerves. A little bit wide in turn 1, a little bit wide again the hairpin, and then a bit wide in the left-hander, but then got the next hairpin absolutely spot on. So it'd be interesting to look at his sector time. I think we're just about to get into it now. So he's probably about a 10th off of where he needs to be at. So let's keep an eye on this. Through under the bridge, holding a nice tight line, down to second. Takes maybe a little bit too much curb there, getting a bobble, and then down through the bobble. This is completely flat through here, and then into the second to last corner. This is where commitment really matters and getting that stability of the car. So keep a nice tight line in, and then gradually let it drift wide, and then tightening. So he's kept it tight the whole way. You can see how it's just ended up meaning he's really inside towards that left-hander in the last corner, and that'll sacrifice his run down towards the line, and he's put in the pit, so he obviously knows that time wasn't going to beat what he's currently done.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, Felvis is on the lap, sorry.
Yeah, Carl Felvis, I was about to mention, he put a purple sector 3 in, but obviously it was his out lap, so he's clearly got the car hooked up. Mick Sutton goes into 4th place on the his final lap anyway. Felvis then into Brundle, and Nelson keeps it nicely to the right and slides it lovely through the right. He kept it tight on the left and slid it lovely through the right-hand side. Just a little bit of a drift, maybe losing a little bit of momentum, but to be honest, he clipped the curb with the front right car excellently. He comes in, aiming for the start of the curb, and as Dave mentioned before, run just a touch wide so you can try and square off the braking zone, keep it as close to that right and 3 posts as you can. A little bit sluggish maybe through the left-hander. He couldn't quite get on the power and get the car turned quickly enough, but as Felvis is going across the line, it's a green sector 1, it's a green sector 2. What has Carl Felvis got left in the tank? Only good enough for 3rd place, and I think he was just a couple of tenths off, potentially really challenging Nicky Taylor there. That's unfortunate. He did set his personal best lap time. It was only good enough for 3rd, though, only half a tenth quicker than his previous one, all down to that last sector, I believe. But Dave, you have a very pleased, I imagine, pole sitter alongside us.
Yeah, we do indeed. Robin Walters, what a lap time that was, a 2:06 flat. Probably about the fastest time I've seen round here in them Clios. That must have been one of them laps that you just knew that was about what you could do, because once you'd done it, you parked it in the pit, you probably virtually got out of your car and went, you know what, if someone beat that, fair play, but that's as fast as I can go.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it took me the remaining 4 minutes to catch my breath after sort of trying to hold on to the last sector. But yeah, really happy because last week I was disappointed. I was sort of expecting to get pole position last week, missed out to Nicky, and then I had a poor second race, so really needed to get pole today, and hopefully I can just get away and Nicky and Kyle can trip over each other, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, regarding coming to this track, Snetterton, I regard it as such a driver's track. It's so rewarding when you finally hook it up. But I was explaining to Jack in the commentary there, the pressure that you must have had on there. I presume you run with a Delta on the screen. Coming around that second to last bend, you're always thinking, how much caution should I throw here? Because if I now mess this up and I'm green on my Delta, it's going to undo all the work it's done for that 2-minute long lap. But you looked absolutely flat out committed into that second to last corner and perfect into the last corner. Was that almost a little bit of luck or just full on commitment and weren't bothered about the delta?
Oh, the delta is there. It's like it's chasing you like a ghost. You can always see it. It's always on your mind. But yeah, honestly, that the second to last corner, it's just pure luck, I suppose. Sometimes you just hit that line correctly, and it all knitted together nicely. So yeah, just hooked it up, Dave.
Well, you made it count when it mattered. Fair play, Robin Walters, a very, very quick lap time. Not just for the Academy, overall, that is an insanely quick lap. Really look forward to seeing how you get on in race 1, and we might be speaking to you after.
Thanks, Dave.
And that was Dave chatting to our pole sitter, Robin Walters, and we're about to get going in race number 1. But first, we've got a very quick advert for you, and then we'll be back for race 1.
At SmartFi, we do things differently. It starts with our 100% buyback guarantee. When you buy SmartFi token on the Smart Portal and hold it for a year or more, we'll buy back your token at the price you paid for any reason under the sun. You can borrow cash with our collateralized crypto loans or earn up to 13% interest on your holdings. SmartFi unleashes the true potential of cryptocurrencies. And there are so many reasons now more than ever to get involved. Join us today at smartfi.com. Grow your wealth and secure your future with simple, smart, and safe finance.
And we are back. Only about 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go before we get ahead into race 1. Of course, there is a race 2 as well we have to look forward to. That will be a top 10 reverse grid. So if you do see your favourite driver maybe fall down the order, then please do stick around and keep an eye on the left-hand side, because you never know. That top 10, that 10th position will be pole, and you never know, they might actually get pole for the reverse grid. We've seen plenty of success over the last couple of weeks, Dave, from the drivers who have got that reverse pole. I think it was Johnson who ends up being the sort of dominant driver there. People who can just get away and get a good 4 or 5 second gap can sometimes hold on to it.
They can indeed. Martin Johnson seems to be absolutely playing it down to the tee, really, for that reverse grid. I don't always think it's intentional. He seems to make really good progress in race 1 still, but then just sometimes gets caught up in a little bit of an incident here or there, and then drops back down to that sort of 9th or 10th, and then just makes race 2 count when it absolutely matters. So, yeah, very, very interesting indeed. Interesting enough, Snetterton here, the pole starts on the left-hand side of the track, so this makes it really difficult, because if Nicky Taylor gets even a slightly decent start over Robin Walters, it gives him just the nose alongside. That means Robin Walters can't turn in for the apex. So it's a very difficult pole scenario, really, for Robin to be in. He either needs to absolutely nail it and get in front of Nicky, or really decide sooner rather than later how committed he's going to be on these tyres into turn 1 if Nicky Taylor gets up the inside, because the last place you want to be is going on the grass heading towards that hairpin when the rest of the train is on the tarmac, because you just cannot filter back into the train.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, physically, it is wide enough to get 2 cars in Ritchie's, but it's whether or not you really trust the driver on the inside, and it's whether or not you trust your tyres are going to be warm enough, as you mentioned, to actually get yourself around the corner as well. So hopefully we keep it all nice and clean. Obviously, the rear tyres need to be warmed up as well, and with no warm-up lap, we're going to go straight into racing, and you can see that the lights are about to come on. But Dave, I can't quite see the action, so I'm going to let you, for once, open this race.
Oh, wow. Big pressure there. So as we see, the lights are out. Will Robin get a decent start here? It's wheel spin from the front too. Robin Walters has moved over nice and early in front of Nicky Taylor. So that is job done from Robin. But Kyle Felvis is on the left. He's going to actually dart up the inside. So Kyle Felvis with the launch out of all the front drivers. And Mick Sutton's going to try and brave it around the outside of Nicky Taylor towards the hairpin. Now this is where Robin Walters needs to be really careful of that inside driver, Nicky Taylor, in behind Kyle Felvis. Because will he able to get cut back in? Or could this see Robin Walters dropped 2 positions from the start?
Yeah, well, that is the thing that he's going to be fearing, isn't it? But Felvers doing a brilliant job to go from third into first place. Mick Sutton's up ahead of Nicky Taylor, in fact. They're getting a little bit argy-bargy, but not quite as much as Brad Smith, who seems to have gone drifting along the outside. And who is that as well as Brad Smith? And I think Nicky Taylor was off the circuit there, unfortunately. So Nicky Taylor, Robin Walters hasn't had the start he wanted. Nicky Taylor's had a lot worse starts, to be honest. He's in 7th place now, as he's just got maybe ahead of Paul Zanetechi. It's hard to see, really, with all these cars flying all over the place, but here goes Robin Walters on the inside of Hamilton. It's a brave move. We mentioned it was only a lift. You have to have a really good drive out of Agostini and be very confident the other driver's not going to turn into you, but there is a driver turning the other way, and it's Nathan Blank in 12th position. Remember, there is a reverse grid top 10. Not all is lost for these drivers. As Nicky Taylor and Paul Zanetechi getting past Martin Johnson. The light blue car there of Johnson, unfortunately, just dropping back. Johnson, to be fair, started in 10th place, so the fact that he was even up into about 6th or 7th or 5th is a pretty good start for Johnson. He should be very pleased with that, and he's not done there, is he? Because he's launching an attack on championship leader Nicky Taylor. Not quite having it just yet as we look further back. And Simon Thorpe getting overtaken by Brad Smith, slotting up the inside of Brundle and making it stick through Nelson, as is that Paul Laramie taking stage exit left. It was, as Nathan Blank follows him.
Yeah, Nathan Blank just pushing it a little bit hard on the right there after the bridge section. But yeah, Robin Walters very, very quick to respond back on Kyle Felvers. A bit of a surprise there. Kyle Felvers just must have absolutely hooked up that launch. And I think you probably remember around 1, Jack, he made up about 4 positions off the line and actually had first place by the time we got the hairpin after Paddock Hill Bend. So it just shows how important finding that bite point and nailing the start is on these cars.
It absolutely is. And Nicky Taylor, who's essentially on a reverse grid charge now, is up into 5th position already as he gets past Martin Johnson and Paul Zanetechi. Now he has to look further forward for Andy Carroll, who probably didn't expect to be in 4th place after his return from Spain. Robin Walters hasn't shaken the attack of Carl Felvers, but Mick Sutton will be certainly very pleased with his 3rd at the moment, and he'll be trying to probably hope to push a little bit forward and maybe lose the cars behind before Nicky Taylor catches too closely up to him. But we're looking a little bit further back as Zanetechi and Martin Johnson. Johnson to look around the outside of Zanetechi into Agostini. Plenty of ease in there, but it is going to be Zanetechi coming out of Agostini in 6th position, still ahead of Martin Johnson, who didn't quite have the run that he was expecting around the outside. Has to blend back in, but Paul now knows that Martin is there and in for a fight.
He does indeed, and I tell you what, this is actually a little bit higher up than where we would normally see Martin Johnson wanting that reverse grid race. So it's looking like Simon Thorpe, Paul Laramie could be really battling for it. The interesting fact is Nathan Blank is a little bit out of place. We saw him with that early spin in the race, but he's got more pace than the drivers necessarily around him. As we'll watch this, Paul Zanetechi on the left. Who's that? Martin Johnson trying to go around the outside of him under the bridge. That's a very brave move and puts a lot of trust, hoping that the other driver isn't going to run you wide slightly. So Martin Johnson is really quite eager to get past Paul Zanetechi here. And I tell you what, cope with the pressure very, very well. Not driving offline, just driving within himself, but make Martin Johnson move around a lot there behind him.
Yeah, well, we quite often see Johnson just taking advantage of reverse grid draws, don't we? But to be honest, here and now, he's looking feisty to have a go at some of the championship protagonists, really, isn't he? And he's really shaping up. Maybe he's enjoying the Snetterton circuit more than he has done in previous circuits. Not entirely sure, but what we can say is he's shaking it with some of the bigger boys that we don't often see him. Hopefully, he can keep it on the track and keep it all nice and clean. Although, as we shoot to Jones versus Thorpe, there's a little bit of a touch. Thorpe ends up going off the circuit, but to be fair, I think that was just one of those racing incidents where both cars were trying to get around the corner as best they can. Maybe 2 cars don't fit onto one line as Nathan Blank overtakes Paul Laramie.
Yeah, so this is Nathan Blank just trying to make a bit of a comeback now after his early spin. And I tell you what, he'll be probably looking at this up in front. John Jones there in 9th, Simon Thorpe in 10th. He'll be going, you know what, if I can even just get myself to there, damage limitation, and let's give it another go in race 2. So this is really what that reverse grid race really gives a chance for drivers who's maybe not at the best of starts in race 1, but keeps the energy high, gives them something to keep fighting for going forward into race 2. So that's really nice to see. I did think this might start happening. Paul Zanetti, Martin Johnson with tripping themselves over a little bit. It's just brought Brad Smith into this picture for this battle for 6th place. So that's really, really helping Brad climb his way back up through the grid. Meanwhile, Nicky Taylor has well and truly cleared Paul Zanetti now and is actually really starting to close the gap onto the back of Andy Carroll. So that'll be a really interesting battle to see, as well as Kyle Felvis, who hasn't really let up the heat off the back of Robin Walters. Look at this, less than 3/10 off the back, and Mick Sutton's watching this going, you know what, boys, any contact here and I'm going to put a lunge on.
Yeah, I imagine Mick Sutton will probably want to close it up just by a good maybe 2 or 3/10. So he's really sort of in the, maybe a bit more in the slipstream and maybe within the shout for just diving up the inside if there is a gap available to him. We saw Paul Zanetti mastering that skill in the Super Touring yesterday, wasn't it, where Carl Felvis was fighting with some of the gold drivers, and Felvis even ends up just touching the back end of Walters, maybe giving him the hurry up. Maybe he's feeling a little bit of the pressure, trying to make him go defensive as he tries to cut back on the second apex, and I think Robin Walters has just about opened up a gap big enough for Carl Felvis to slot into, and just like we saw yesterday in the Super Touring, Carl Felvis doesn't need a second invitation into that hairpin. He takes the position and takes the race lead away from Robin, but for how long as they go into T3 is going to be side by side, which quite often means the inside driver is going to be ahead, and in fact it is. But Carl does just give Robin enough room to just about rejoin the circuit. Going towards Agostini is going to be Walters on the outside of the orange and blue, and Felvis diving towards the inside, trying to defend his race lead that he's worked so hard to gain. Mick Sutton, again, not quite close enough to take advantage of what is inevitably going to be a bit of a slow corner through Hamilton's as they're going to go side by side. And in fact, I think they are holding themselves up. And here is Mick Sutton.
Yeah, what fantastic racing that was there. That was literally like watching a British touring car race, fighting each corner, always trying to get the undercut back on each other. And I tell you what, that's exactly the sort of battle that these drivers sign up to have. Yes, a driver wants to win, but also a driver really wants good, clean, fair, hard racing, and that's exactly what we're getting here. Kyle Felvis looked to me like you give Robin a little bump and say, you know what, Mick Sutton's getting a little bit closer, let's get away. And actually ended up getting a good run through turn 1. Went, actually, you know what, I think this is probably a great opportunity to try and put a lunge on, and that might really help me. So meanwhile, Kyle Felvis just pulling away slightly now from the back of Robin Walters. Maybe just Robin got a little bit out the floor of the track there, but Mick Sutton now is definitely part of this battle for first place, and look who's behind. Nicky Taylor's got past Andy Carroll, and he is definitely on a charge. Look at that, full commitment out the last corner. And actually, let's keep an eye on the lap times here. 3 drivers being battling up in front, so we're running it to sort of the 2:08 flat. Meanwhile, Nicky Taylor at 2:06.4 on that previous lap. So Nicky Taylor has took over a second out of this front pack in that last lap alone. So very, very fast pace from Nicky Taylor there in 4th place.
Yeah, and we'll expect to see him probably join the fight sooner rather than later. In fact, there he is. As you mentioned, he's got past Andy Carroll. And another shout out to Martin Johnson, who has got past Paul Zanetti as well, as we were following that battle quite closely earlier on. We're obviously now fighting, seeing the fight for the race lead even, and I can't even get my words out, to be honest, as Robin Walters goes towards the inside of Agostini, and it's a sharp braking zone in front of all the fans. That's where they all watch from in real life, and Robin Walters takes that race lead ahead of Carl Felvis. Mick Sutton, again, not really close enough to take any kind of advantage. He's going to have to probably wait another 9 minutes before there's a real opportunistic move for him to take the race lead. He doesn't quite have the ultimate pace, but Nicky Taylor has been invited to have a go, and he's only a second behind Mick Sutton.
Yeah, this is probably where, for me, Robin needs to be a little bit smart about this. He knows Kyle is a very, very quick driver, and he's not afraid to put the lunge on. But if Robin can defend in the right places here and back him up a little bit, so Mick Sutton feels like he's got a charge on. In fact, Kyle Felvis has gone left here. I would say Robin Walters has probably left the door open here a little bit. He's gone very wide towards the right-hander, and he's actually just let the Kyle Felvis through on the inside. Obviously not intentionally, just too late on the brakes, couldn't get the car turned in. And I always say in the coaching sessions that we all on a Monday, it is so important for a lead driver to put the car behind where he wants it. If you don't want him to go left, you make sure you put your car left, so he only has the option to go right. That's exactly what Kyle Felvers did. He waited for the moment where Robin Walters let his guard down a little bit. There was a gap on the left. Kyle Felvers darted left nice and early, and job was done from the moment that happened.
To be fair, I've done exactly what Kyle Felvers has done there. I did it in real life, and you sometimes do get the car in front just turn across you, and then you both spear into a wall, which just provides you with the knowledge that Robin Walters and Kyle Felvers are not into DNFing today, are they? They want to finish. They want to finish strong as Nicky Taylor goes to the outside of Mick Sutton. Mick defends that nicely, to be fair, holds off the attack from Nicky for the time being. But you get a sense of inevitability about this move into third place. Mick's going to have to be a wily old fox to make sure he's going to hold on to this third for as long as possible. But 8 minutes and 40 seconds is about 8 minutes and 38 seconds too long, unfortunately, for Mick Sutton, who unfortunately lets the place go pretty much instantly. As he dives up the inside, there's a huge lunge on the brake there, Dave. I'm not sure if he used the Clio of Nicky Taylor to help him slow down, but he has certainly got the place.
I think that he probably did use a little bit of the side of Nicky's car there, but I tell you now, Nicky will be more than used to that with competing in the mini challenge in real life. I think probably Nicky thought that move might have happened there, but maybe didn't expect Mick to properly commit to it. And sure enough, Mick didn't need a second invitation there, threw it up the inside and left Nicky basically no other option than to open the corner up and allow Mick through and then have another go at it. So we are witnessing here a very, very strong battle between two drivers.
Yeah, as Mick moves across to the inside and does what potentially Robin Walters would be regretting not doing against Kyle, but if your name's Nicky Taylor, you don't care where you put the car, you're going to get past eventually. And he goes through under the bridge and going into the bomb hole. Mick Sutton taking a side to line, trying to upset the apple cart here, but it is Nicky Taylor with that third place for now. Crucially, with only 7.5 minutes left, it has opened up a bit of a gap, but 2.6 seconds is probably going to get closed between Nicky and Robin Walters over the course of the next 7 minutes. Brad Smith and Paul Zanetechi is going to be an overtake, I believe. Brad Smith going into 7th place, but overshooting the corner as Zanetechi comes out of the final corner. A little bit better run, but to be honest, not as much as I was expecting, as Brad Smith holds on to that place for the time being.
You know what? Fair play, Brad Smith. That is
Absolutely.
such a hard move to pull off. Round the outside of second to last bend. And Paul Zanetechi here is going for the move up the inside. Oh, that was very, very nearly contact there. But Brad Smith, super committed, left enough room up the inside. Yet again, great racing awareness there from Brad. Paul's having another look up the inside. It's little moves like that. Brad just left too much of a little inside line there, going towards the hairpin. But luckily enough, he's got away with it this time. But I was going to say, Brad Smith with brilliant racecraft there, ran the outside into the last corner, and to make that move stick, honestly, that is such a hard and impressive move to make.
It absolutely is. It's full commitment, trusting not only the driver next to you, but trusting the car that is going to stick as well. I mean, if his tyres were even just a touch more overheated, it could have ended up sliding through there and not being on the brakes and not getting the car slowed down as efficiently as he was hoping for. But very nicely done all round, I would say, as Brad Smith now tries to go on the attack for Martin Johnson, who, as I mentioned before, Dave, is actually driving really well. And we mentioned it earlier on. He's quite often the reverse pole specialist, but today he's fighting up a little bit further, isn't he? He's trying to get these points from race 1, not only race 2.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? We shouldn't take it away from Martin. Yes, he's been a bit of this repetitive reverse grid pole sitter, but Martin Johnson, from the way he's drove in them race 2s, he shows he can really pedal a car. So the fact he's up into 6th, this is probably just a truer representation of what he can actually do if the start of the race isn't as hindered for him. So very impressive drive. Well done, Martin Johnson. Brad Smith is now clear of Paul Zanetechi. So will we see Brad Smith starting to make headway? It's this second to last corner. Brad just looks really committed and really confident, knowing that car is doing exactly what he wants it to do. So Brad here, I reckon, is on a super charge.
Yeah, Kyle Felvers and Robin Walters, though, just having a look at those two, I think they've stopped fighting slightly intentionally because Nicky Taylor hasn't been able to catch up to either of those drivers at the top end here. I mean, just seeing the lap times in the previous lap, they're all pretty much within a tenth of each other. Nicky Taylor and Robin Walters actually was a 206.8. Carl Felvis a touch slower, only just into the 206s with a 206.99. But still, they're all pretty even, I suppose, there, Dave. And that's exactly what the front two want, isn't it? Especially Kyle with the championship running. Well, to be honest, all these drivers are in the championship, aren't they? I mean, Nicky Taylor's leading with 100 points. Carl Felvis is only 4 points behind with 96, but Robin Walters has a full 10 points. Well, 14 points, really, to make up on Nicky Taylor. So every little helps, and they're going to need to finish the next 4 minutes in this order if they have any chance of trying to claw back crucial points this evening.
Yeah, it does. You know, Robin Walters had the poor lap, so there's one more point for Robin Walters his way. But crucially, Nicky Taylor has actually got the fastest lap of the race, so that actually cancels out the point that Robin's gained for being the fastest in qualifying. So realistically, we're all squit here, unless if Robin can get past Kyle Felvis or use his tour to better his lap, then unfortunately, sort of how good he was in qualification, it's sort of undone itself a little bit. I really think here, Robin Walters, this is a little bit of a different side of him that we've seen before. Before, you know, if he hasn't quite got the start he's needed, he's dropped back through the pack a little bit. This is him really, really fighting for this position. He knows that he's got the pace around this track. He cannot afford not to get past Kyle here, and Kyle will know that. So this is going to be a race. I reckon, even if it's got a whiff of a lunge up the inside, I reckon Robin will go for it. Let's see.
I think there's more than a whiff, isn't there, that's to come in the next 3 minutes, because he is getting a little bit closer. I mean, when we joined this fight at the front, it was about 8 tenths of a second. It's now whittled its way down, and it's not because Robin Walters has gone particularly quick. It's because Carl Felvis is going slightly slower. He was 2 tenths off in that last lap, which means that Robin is right there with him. Nicky Taylor has gone half a second quicker than both of them on that previous lap, which means he's going to be closer than ever for the next 2.5 minutes. Both, especially Felvis, I imagine, but both of these top two drivers will be starting to sweat. And you know, Dave, the potential instigation for a race move for Walters on Felvis will be how close Taylor gets. Then Robin Walters will be starting to get a slightly desperate, won't he, in the campaign to try and claw back those points. He'll be wanting to finish first and just try his best to put his own interests above the two at the front.
So I'm going to call it now. That corner there that we've just seen, that hairpin opportunity, if that's in the same position next lap and the distance is about the same, I think Robin Walters has weighed that up and he knows that's the best opportunity to get a lunge put on Kyle. So I think looking at that, Robin Walters gets a little bit better of a run out the left-hander before that hairpin, and on the way down, that time constant seems to keep coming down over the past 2 laps. So I reckon if Robin Walters has been paying attention to that gap, which he definitely will have done, I reckon Robin Walters will go for a move into that hairpin. We'll wait and see, and I could be completely wrong with that, but the racing instinct in me says Robin Walters probably thought that's the place to do it. Oh, Nicky Taylor with a huge sideways move. Mick Sutton is actually might get past here. Nicky Taylor's going to have gravel on his tyres. This is sketchy. Going towards the second to last corner when you don't have full grip. Mick Sutton, this is when you need to be really committed and put the pressure on Nicky Taylor while he's made a mistake. This is when he could be rattled. Look at that. Mick Sutton, actually, I'm really impressed with that. Very agile on the brakes, getting the car to turn. That's difficult to do. That takes a commitment level a little bit beyond that comfort level of where I've got this. When you start to get the car on the bounce and on the verge of oversteer, you've got the car on its nose, you've got it where it can rotate. That's where you need this car to be, but it takes some serious commitment.
Yeah, absolutely does. As Brad Smith up the backside of Martin Johnson. He goes for a move up the inside of Richie's. No, Martin Johnson diving late over towards that first apex and absolutely nailing it. He wasn't going to be put off at all by Brad Smith, was he? Going towards the second corner now, Martin putting his car exactly where he needs to be, using all that experience that he had on pole in the previous couple of races, but unfortunately loses out to Brad Smith. I thought the pressure into Richie's he dealt with really well, but unfortunately missed the braking zone. But here comes Johnson back again as Smith does basically exactly the same thing and misses the apex completely into T3. Going towards Agostini, I don't think Smith's close enough really to have a go at Johnson either. So it is going to remain 6th and 7th for these two drivers. You never know. We're on the last lap. They're pretty close to the front end of the field as they finish like this. At the moment, Simon Thorpe is in pole position for race number 2. So keep an eye out for that one, because I don't think Paul Laramie is too far away. So you never know. You could see him getting on pole. There's Kyle Felvis even currently leading the way from Robin Walters, but only 0.2 of a second between them now as they're going towards Brundle and Nelson. Here comes Robin Walters lunging around the outside, but Felvis takes so much speed through, he's going to mess up the right-hander, which might give Robin just a touch run, but actually Kyle nailed that one with the apex speed. He hooked up the apex on the right-hand side. Robin had to just come off the throttle. He couldn't get the run he was going to, and as they go round Cora for the final time, it looks like Robin's a little bit too far back to really have an instinctive go at the inside here in the last corner. It's not going to stop him getting close, though. He nails the apex on the left-hand side. You don't think he quite gets on the power as early as he might like, so it will be Kyle Felvis taking the 10-lap checkered flag here at the Academy, powered by VRRC Clio Cup. Race 1 here at Snetterton 300. Robin Walters comes home in second place, with Nicky Taylor managing to hold off Mick Sutton after a scary off under the bridge into third. Mick Sutton in fourth. Andy Carroll and Martin Johnson and Brad Smith swap positions, I think, just about on the line. Martin Johnson remains in sixth position with Brad Smith in seventh. Paul Zanetecci in eighth. John Jones in ninth. And Paul Laramie lets me just catch my breath in 10th position. We'll start on pole position in race number 2. Kenny Preston. Simon Thorpe actually dropped all the way back. I said it, he was in pole position territory, and unfortunately ends up in 13th.
Yeah, that's a real shame for Simon. That must have been dramas on the very, very last lap there. Potentially it happened that late on. It must have happened somewhere under the bridge, or possibly into the last corner. So, yeah, very, very unlucky there by Simon. Great race to hold it in that reverse grid position as well. So really, really unlucky for Simon Thorpe there. I tell you what, I cannot wait to talk to these drivers. What a battle that was. And we were right. Super Touring was great last night, but these Clios round this track battled all over the grid, and they are driving the absolute wheels off these cars.
It does suit the cars, in my opinion, a little bit. It's quite a heavy. I mean, there's a mix of all kinds of corners here at Snetterton, where it's slow hairpins or sort of medium high-paced corners like the first corner and Coram, but it really does suit the Clios, which has a little bit of everything involved. A lack of aerodynamic grip, plenty of mechanical grip as well, which is what we love to see in some drivers in a one-make championship. But Dave, you can have a chat to the drivers who finished on the podium places.
We can indeed. We go down to our P3 finisher, Nicky Taylor. I mean, it was P3, but it was very nearly all thrown away with a very big moment going under the bridge. And I tell you what, I was saying on the commentary, going through Bommel and into that second last corner with dirt on them tyres, with Mick really, really close to you, I take some commitment to keep the car on track and keep it under check.
Yeah, I mean, it is my home track, so I do know a bit or two about going wider and then getting back on, but yeah, start of the race went great. Got completely sent into the corner after the first hairpin, and then just damage limitation from there. Just trying to make my way back through, and then almost through it all the way with that under the bridge. But the only reason why that happened is because I went in and I clipped the curb on the inside, which then just spun the rears round. But luckily enough, I didn't hit anything. So.
Yeah.
So, oh well, better reverse grid place than maybe getting up near the win or second with Robin, so yeah.
Well, you've done it in race 1 already, Sean. You can come back through the pack, so let's see if you can do it again in race 2.
Oh, it should be fun.
We'll move forward on our P2 finisher, and I imagine you're going to be a little bit disappointed with that, Robin, but you cannot fault the race. That is exactly what you signed up for.
Yeah, it seems to be almost every week, this, doesn't it? It's really, really impressive. Credit to Kyle, to be fair. I mean, he's from what I know, he's a young lad and he races extremely fairly. So, absolutely credit and hats off to Kyle, because it was an excellent race. Yeah, really enjoyable, but disappointed ultimately about the result. You know, I've not won a race yet, Dave. What's going on?
Well, I'm sure it'll come soon enough, looking at the pace you've got in the car. The thing I did notice was you went under the bridge, you braked, you looked like you could possibly have gotten undercut by Kyle, but just had too much speed, ran at the back of him on that very last lap, and I take it that was the chance gone there. it was very close to being, an absolute shootout going through the bomb. Just couldn't quite get the undercut, could you not?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think I sort of had one eye looking backwards to Nicky because I knew he'd had some issues, so I wasn't sure how far behind he was. But as soon as he got past Mick, I was thinking to myself, the plan was to just peg Kyle as much as I can and hopefully stick with him, and then not get too racing until the end. And that was kind of the plan. And just didn't quite get it. It was good at coming out of the slower corners, so I struggled actually.
Well, really, really good effort here today, Robin. Fantastic pace in the car, and we're looking forward to seeing what you can do with that in race 2.
Thanks, Dave.
And we'll move forward on to our P1 finisher. Kyle, here yet again, phenomenal race. Made the start count when it mattered, like we saw in round 1. And I tell you what, I bet you had a smile on your face. Well, you probably didn't because you were concentrating. But now after, you can look back on that race and go, you know what, that is brilliant. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best race I've ever had, and big shout out to Robin for just keeping it clean the whole way. I think this academy is the best racing with Robin and Nicky and everyone else. Everyone's just so fair, so it just makes it really fun.
Well, let's see if you've seen that after race 2. But yeah, watching it here, we will perfectly agree with that. These cars just seem to be absolutely brilliant for that, as close as you can get wheel-to-wheel action. But obviously, it's the fleshy bit in the middle that needs to keep it clean. And I tell you what, fair play to both you and Robin. Fantastic race, and let's see if we're seeing more of that in race 2, Kyle.
Thanks, Dave.
And there we go, Jack. I cannot quite believe that we've got a 14 or 15-year-old pedaling the car quite the way he does, with the maturity. And, it is absolutely outstanding to see how far these drivers have come in the academy and are really, really enjoying it.
I think Rich will be printing up T-shirts, to be honest, with what Carl just said. With the academy being the best racing that he's had, and how clean it is. And it's true, to be fair.
It is,
I mean, we see a lot. I mean, I've commentated on a lot over the past 18 months, and I have to be said, I was thinking when you invited me on to the academy racing, I was thinking this could get a bit messy. We're all learning drivers and all that sort of thing, amateur drivers, basically. But it's actually been an extremely pleasant surprise. Everybody seems to buy into the idea of improving themselves and using this as a feeder series into other things. Yeah. And you're not going to improve if you're trailing around at the back with damage on, are you? So you got to keep it clean. You got to race well.
Yeah, you do indeed. And the other thing is, these cars are tough cookies. They can take a little bit of a bang and a prang. It just lends itself to such great racing. So more of this car. Let's see what happens. Start of race 2. More of the same boys from race 1.
Exactly, and the lights are about to come on, which means we are about to get going for the reverse grid race. Paul Laramie on pole position. The engine notes rise and the lights are on, and that only means one thing. We're racing for the second time here in the Academy Clio Cup for the second time this evening, and it's a good start. I think that's Paul Zanetechi absolutely launching it off the line and trying to get on the inside with John Jones, who's just about held on to it. In fact, what's wrong? What's happened to our pole sitter? John, is that John Jones? No, who is that? Is that Brad Smith? I'm not entirely sure, but something just seemed to just switch off there for John Jones. He went from roughly first to pretty much 5th or 6th, and I have no idea why, Dave. I don't know if we can illuminate that a little bit later, but that seemed like a technical issue, and Mick Sutton's had more than a technical issue. He's had a spin, and it's just set him right in the back of the field along with Simon Thorpe, and there's been so much chaos on this opening lap, and unfortunately we've missed a few things. Kenny Press going into the wall being one of them. Andy Cowell falling down. Robin Walters, I believe. Robin Walters is off the track and in 11th position. Huge news for the championship there after doing so well in race 1. Where is the other championship protagonist? Paul Laramie started on pole position. He now sits in 3rd. Martin Johnson flying up the order in 2nd place. Paul Zanetechi probably thinking this is about right. This is where I normally belong. He's in 1st. But as the safety car comes out, we can see that Carl Felvers is into the top 5. There was so much drama, Dave, there that we're not entirely sure what to pick out.
Yeah, a bit of a strange turn 1 there. It looked to me like it was one of them electrical cutouts where you don't have any throttle. I've got far too much experience of that in real life racing around here, and I know it's not a pleasant thing at all when you've got a pack of cars behind you. The only problem is, when I did it, I could just reset the car by turning it off and on again. It looks to me like, I believe it was John Jones. Obviously, sim hardware, you can't just do that. So, seems to have the car back going again but looking at how far he's dropped back down the pack, I'd imagine that's probably not fully fixed there. It might have just lost calibration or something on them lines. Meanwhile, it's Robin Walters there in P11. It's just that look of the second race, isn't it? He just hasn't had it on board with him, and he's going to really struggle now to get through the rest of this pack and damage limitation with Kyle Felvis and Nicky Taylor there in 5th and 6th. So let's see what happens. I believe safety car will be in this lap. Let's see whether Paul Zanicecchi can really get this start nailed. I believe he's gone. Has he gone now?
I think he's just about to go.
No, sorry, I might have jumped it there a little bit. It looked a little bit quick. I think he has gone now. They're out the last corner. There's a little bit of a gap now open between him and Martin Johnson. Martin Johnson's far too far back here for a possible lunge. Paul Laramie in P3, but Brad Smith is your person to watch for. Watch for the lunge going towards turn 1. In fact, he's about to get lunged on by Kyle Felvis. The two Domino's cars there battling very, very hard. Indeed, Kyle Felvis will look for the inside line here. Is it going to offer itself? It isn't, but Brad Smith gets boxed in. Kyle Felvis goes back up the inside again. What a fantastic move. Waiting for the time Nicky Taylor in the Karamat car is going to find his way through as well.
I was curious what you meant there by the Dominoes. What was going on? It's the livery, isn't it? Yeah, it's the colour scheme. I was thinking. I was like, are they about to knock each other off like dominoes? What's going on here? Then you're absolutely right. Oh, huge moment there for Mick Sutton, as I think he is going to end up towards the Armco. Well, he's gotten away with that heavily there. Normally, that stage exit left straight into the wall, but he's done well. Nicky Taylor now getting past Brad Smith. This is crucial for Nicky Taylor, Dave.
Is that a spin? Robin Walters with another spin on the hairpin.
Robin Walters. Oh, yeah. No. I was about to say Nicky Taylor did it in race 1. Robin Walters will have to do it in race 2, but he's got even less time to make his way through the order. His only saving grace is the fact that his championship rivals are not 1st and 2nd, which is obviously the situation for Nicky. They are 4th and 5th, but by the way they're going through the traffic at the moment, that's not going to go for very long.
It isn't indeed. Kyle is definitely looking very, very very racy, if I'm honest. Martin Johnson with a possible move round the outside of Paul Zanicecchi. A very, very brave move there, but Tug's batting thinks better of it. Kyle Felvis there in P3. Nicky Taylor hasn't got past Paul Laramie, so this is going to mean that Kyle Felvis has a little bit of breathing room and can really close in on them front spaces. We're not even 5 minutes into the race, and Kyle has managed to go from back of the grid to running on the podium. Phenomenal effort.
It is indeed. Nicky trying to follow him all the way as well as he looks up the inside of Paul Laramie, but it's not happening just yet into the final corner as he gives a bit of a flash of the lights. He's got Brad Smith behind him, but we know how aggressive Brad Smith can be when he gets the sniff of a racing opportunity here for an overtake. And indeed he is trying to put pressure on Nicky Taylor as he goes to the outside. Has a really good run actually going into Ritchie's, but it's on the outside, which is the slightly more dangerous place to go. Is he going to be able to get that cutback? No, he's not just yet. It's opportunity for a cutback, but I don't think Brad was really banking on it. I think he was hoping to get the move done earlier. Robin Walters finds his way into the top 10, getting past John Jones as Carl Felvis goes past Martin Johnson on the switchback coming out of the second corner. How's he going to manage around the outside of T3 here? I think both cars in front of him looking like they may be just about missing the apex, but actually Johnson picked it up nicely in the end as Felvis came out of the throttle, out of the power, realised that Nicky Taylor's not behind him. You can take your time just a touch and maybe wait for a mistake and wait for the opportunity that has just about presented itself through Agostini, and it's not going to happen just yet as Martin Johnson opens the wheel up and gets the throttle on nice and early and actually gets the good run out of Agostini. Go through Hamilton's now. Felvis with a little bit of a better run, but again, where's he going to put his car as Johnson looks towards the inside? There is contact, and there's the opportunity presenting itself on a silver platter for Carl Felvis to take this race lead, and Nicky Taylor's going to have to go through Martin Johnson himself, and just about managed to do so actually. So Taylor is into 3rd place, but that was huge contact between the top 2 of Johnson and Laramie.
Yeah, I could be wrong. It looked to me a little bit like Martin Johnson was looking in his mirror a little bit instead of looking in front, and he saw Kyle Felvis just show his nose. He then tried to react to that, but by the time he was looking back and reacting to that, he didn't realise Paul Zanicecchi was already on the brakes, turning the corner, and that's why there was nose-to-tail contact. So Unfortunate for Paul Zanetechi, a completely innocent party there. Kyle Felvis is the one who really benefited from that, managing to get through 2 positions without really having to do anything, and also, crucially, keep Paul Laramie between him and Nicky Taylor, and that's a bit more of that extra safety buffer as well. So very, very good drive here by Kyle Felvis. Unless if something happens here, and I don't want the commentators curse this, looks to me like Kyle Felvis now will have this race in the bag.
Yeah, well, I'll just about cover the championship in a second because they're going 2 by 2, which in the commentary booth is a small signal for us to go hurrah, hurrah. As Nicky Taylor goes into 2nd place, Paul Laramie drops to 3rd, Zanetechi gets past Brad Smith for the time being, but Brad Smith is looking very interested in trying to get that 4th position away from, that 3rd position away from, no, it was 4th position, sorry, as Martin Johnson goes past Brad Smith, who ran a little bit wide through the 2nd corner. Paul Laramie on the outside. No, it's not Paul Laramie, I apologise, it's Zanetechi. I keep getting those 2 mixed up, but it looks like they're going side by side with Johnson. Zanetechi going towards Agostini. Felvis is leading the way and is pulling away quite substantially. Nicky Taylor into 2nd place. It's as good as he could potentially do as Zanetechi hits Johnson, and Johnson just about got back. Zanetechi, is he going to let him get back past him? That'll be the sportsman thing to do, but Brad Smith's in the way.
It would be the sportsman thing to do if he hadn't have been spat out of 1st place by Mark Johnson himself. So
true.
I think that was probably a little bit, if you know what, you're going to try and lunge me around the outside, I'm just not really going to give you much room. So yeah, maybe a bit of tit for tat, but this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting, a little bit racy. There is drivers on the grid that start to pick up little habits and little traits of certain other drivers, and this is where you get the characters in the sport and it starts to release itself. And I think that was just a bit of a case of Paul standing his ground and going, you know what, I'm getting a bit fed up with this. Let's have it a bit back.
Exactly, yeah. Well, as you mentioned, we are getting towards the latter stage of the championship. People starting to learn from each other quite a lot. You sort of know what you're coming up against as we go through the last couple of rounds. But we do have, speaking of rounds, we do have Driver of the Day to think about, don't we, Dave? Now, this is where we like to get you guys involved at home. Quite often we say that and then maybe we sort of forget about it because the end of race 2 has been so exciting and then all of a sudden we panic pick someone. Not to say that we ever don't take everything into consideration as Robin Walters goes past Nathan Blank, but we don't always sort of take on board what you guys are saying in the YouTube chat maybe as much as we should. So this today is an opportunity for you guys to pretty much take control of the driver of the round. So if you're here supporting someone, then please do let us know. Let us know if you think they are driver of the round material as Smith goes into the... Johnson goes into the... I think Smith went into Zanetechi, and then potentially Johnson went into Smith because of that domino reaction. I don't know if I was reading that quite right, Dave, but that's what I sort of got the interpretation of.
I would say that's almost bang on. It was just a bit of a case of one driver has a little bit of a punt, gets slowed down by the driver in front, then that driver behind is approached by a car that is slowed down rather than accelerating in a place where you're probably flat on the throttle. Just a bit of a chain reaction, very much just a racing incident there. Needless to say, Paul Zanetechi manages to hold on to 4th place there. For me, I'm going to throw this out there, a driver who's impressed me a lot. Obviously, you can't deny the way Kyle's drove is a very, very impressive drive. But Paul Laramie, actually a driver who did very well in race 1, managed to get himself up in the grid, and then also race 2 here, holding on to a very, very solid P3 at the moment. He's going to have the likes of Paul Zanetechi coming up behind him. He's 1.4 seconds back. But needless to say, seems to be driving within himself. Just a good drive so far. Very good drive from Paul.
Yeah, and if Mick Sutton was maybe performing a little bit stronger in this second race, I potentially would have put his name in for the mix as well, as Nathan Blank and Simon Thorpe ends up having a little bit of a coming together. Nathan Blank ended up facing the wrong way as John Jones overtakes him now coming out of Nelson, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, Mick Sutton would have been probably a name I would have mentioned, but it seems that he's got some major problems, unfortunately, Mick Sutton in this second race, which is obviously a big shame. And I maybe would have said Martin Johnson, but there's a little bit too much contact maybe to his name in this second race as well to really be put in there for driver of the round. But plenty of options here today, so please do let us know who you think is Smith and Carroll. Is Andy Carroll, in fact it is, isn't it? Looking towards the inside of Smith, nothing happened just yet as they go towards the second corner, though. I'm sure Cal will probably be having an idea of where he might end up trying to go for a lunge on Smith, but not quite yet. Maybe waiting until they both catch up, Paul Laramie and Zanetechi.
Yeah, definitely. Some interesting battles starting to develop. Paul Zanetechi's just starting to close the gap a little bit on Paul Laramie, but this battle from 5th to about 8th place is all looking quite tight. We've got Robin Walters there in 7th place, who is starting to make some serious headway. Now, the interesting thing for me is, we've got Robin Walters there in 7th place. Paul Laramie in 3rd on the podium is only just up ahead of him in this pack. So if actually he can get past a few of these cars reasonably quickly and nicely, we actually might see Robin Walters with an absolute fantastic recovery drive here.
Well, that's what we're sort of hoping for in terms of the championship, really, isn't it? Because obviously we want to keep it a three-way race. And speaking of the championship, at the moment, after that first race, as we mentioned before, the points are as it stands right now. Kyle Felvers, 116 points, top of the leaderboard at the moment going into this race. Nicky Taylor, who was obviously leading just before, also on 116 points. There's literally nothing in them as they're going into the second race. Obviously, there will be a points difference come the end of this race, as one of them is going to win this race. But Robin Walters at 104 points has quite a lot to sort of lose here. He's 12 points back, and unfortunately is a good 6 places back from where he would like to be as well. So Walters is very much keen on getting forward, but he has got a gaggle of cars that he probably sees in front of him that he thinks he could overtake them as long as he catches up to them within the next 6.5 minutes. And then, as he said, a recovery drive will be ticked off the box there. As Zanetechi and Paul Laramie are starting to go side by side. Brad Smith is watching this. They're very interested indeed, I imagine, as Laramie's on the inside, Zanetechi's on the outside. Laramie in the yellow and black, Zanetechi in the white and black, and here comes Brad Smith around the outside of both of them. The two black cars make contact, and the dark blue, or sort of navy blue, ends up going for a move as Laramie gets forced off the circuit by Zanetechi and into the Armco after making contact with, I think that was Brad Smith in the end, as Laramie unfortunately ends this race towards the back of the field, probably with damage on board as well. And that is gutting, Dave, because we did see such a clean race as Smith goes for a move on Zanetechi, and there we go, a little bit more of a nudge, maybe a slight push to pass as they both go round, and here comes Robin Walters, hoping and praying to God that it's clean around him, because he wants to take advantage of contact, but he doesn't need any on board. He's already had enough this race.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like the drivers heard me say that these cars are a bit of a tough cookie. They're really trying to knock 7 bells out of each other in this second race a little bit. I think it's just a case of drivers slightly over-defending for corners with a driver mix that's trying to over-attack a little bit too much. And you know what it's like, Jack, when you get them two combos together, it's almost inevitable what is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So as the drama just dips down, we have noted that Robin Walters is now up to 4th, and to be honest, has the pace on Brad Smith as well. So fingers crossed it can all stay clean. If we're looking at fastest lap to potentially separate and add a little bit more spice and points to the mix of the championship, at the moment, Carl Felvis to 206.5. Nicky Taylor smashing that though, 206.1. And I don't think anybody else is in the 206s. So Nicky Taylor in this race is actually quicker than he did in qualifying, which is pretty mad, isn't it, really? As Robin Walters is now going for a move around the outside of Brad Smith. It's a long pitch straight here, but I don't know if it's going to be long enough to fully get ahead of the blue and red Domino's car. Robin Walters just leading on him just a touch, try and keep it as clean as possible. No red mist going down on the cars here, and I think Robin Walters knew exactly what was happening, didn't he? He sort of read that Smith was maybe a little late to the brakes and just came off the brakes as Zanetechi looks for a move on the inside of Walters as well, but it's not quite happening going through T2.
Yeah, this is starting to get a little bit interesting. This is Robin Walters, I think, is sort of seizing the opportunity of damage limitation here, getting himself on the podium. But I tell you what, Brad Smith will be very, very keen to hold on to that 3rd place as well. We know Brad is a very good driver and he can really defend. So this isn't going to be easy as we see who's that. Is that a crash with Martin Johnson and Paul Zanetechi, possibly.
Yeah, it is. It is
yeah,
Paul
it is.
Zanetechi.
It just caught me out a little bit, that, because I didn't think Martin Johnson was that close to the pack. And also, he's in such a similar coloured car to Simon Thorpe there. It looks almost identical. So Andy Carroll there, being the driver who's managed to get his way back through, basically by other people's incidents there. So Andy Carroll with yet another very good drive. I believe this is 2 5th-place finishes from Andy Carroll.
It may well be, actually, which is a fair old return on investment after his time that he spent away, to be fair, isn't it?
Yeah, Andy Carroll, 5th in race 1, yeah.
Yeah, we've had quite a few people shouting for Carl to be driver of the day on the Facebook chat as well. We've had quite a few people for Brad Smith as well, so it's going to be interesting to see maybe who's going to be voting the most. You do let us know in the comments. As we said, we want to get your impact. I think if we were picking out of those two, me, myself, Dave, we don't often like to give it to drivers who just take most amount of race victories, but it's sometimes the way they do it, isn't it? And I think Carl Felvers, for me, is probably a better shout than Brad Smith at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's one of them things I don't like to keep awarding to the driver who is proved a little bit dominant here at Snetterton, but you can't argue with the fact not only has he got fantastic support in the YouTube and Facebook, they are perfectly legit to vote for him because of the way he's drove. It is absolutely fantastic how well he's performed tonight, managing to put the laps together. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I can't really argue with anyone else to go against driver of the day because Felvis realistically is the one who does deserve it.
Yeah, and everybody else in this race too has had a little... They've all driven well, but they've all got a little contact mark next to their name on their permanent records, unfortunately, after this evening. But Robin Walters and Brad Smith, as I was speaking about contact, go side to side, coming through T3. But to be fair, doing all right there as they go towards Agostini. Oh, there's lag. That could cause real problems as Robin Walters hits the brakes. Smith runs a little bit wide as they go towards Hamilton, still side by side. I don't know if any contact is going to be intentional here, but it may well be forced upon them if there is a little bit of jumping about. As, oh, look at the way Smith's car just rotated the rear end there and got a point at Hamilton. He has gone wide, but he did send an awful lot of pace through. We don't know if maybe track limits came into the part there, but normally if you come off there, you're not going to get stopped for the next corner, so track limits aren't really an issue. But I have to say, I think Robin Walters maybe just backed out of it, if anything, as Nathan Blank ends up again facing the wrong way. It really hasn't suited him, Snetterton, this round.
Yeah, I think Nathan is really, I'm not going to say he's struggling, but he's really struggled with just adapting to the driving around him tonight. And it seems, unfortunately, there's Mick Sutton. We must point out Mick is doing a pretty stellar job. We know he's not very well at all at the moment. He has unfortunately caught COVID. So our thoughts are with Mick Sutton there as I get distracted there with Paul Zanetechi getting very sideways under the bridge there. I believe that was with Simon Thorpe this time in a very similar coloured car. I'll go quickly back to Mick Sutton. Our thoughts are with you. Hope for a very, very speedy recovery, Mick. And tell you what, still a stellar drive there, out there in P10, keeping it on the grid. Top effort, man.
Yeah, I didn't even realise this evening that he was actually driving with it. So very impressive, because it does get you out of breath, doesn't it? Sim racing. A lot of people probably just think, oh, you're sitting there in your kitchen or something, or in your home office, but it is quite an energetic sort of hobby.
Yeah.
So it's quite impressive that he's even able to get through an entire race, let alone drive as well as he has done.
Yeah, I've heard him over the mic, and honestly, mate, it doesn't sound comfortable at all the way he is at the moment. So honestly, I can't quite believe he's driving. So very, very top effort there. Meanwhile, Jack, I'll let you take over, as I have just realised we are on the final lap. Where did that 20 minutes go there? Kyle Felvis out in the lead. I'll let you take it from here, but this is looking like a battle for third. He's absolutely on for the line.
Yeah, the battle for first probably is done and dusted, realistically. Carl Felvis and Nicky Taylor is probably going to have their finish, but how are they going to finish for P3? Smith still holding on to this podium position for everything he's got. Robin Walters maybe has just sort of pulled out of one or two moves, maybe 50-50s that he wasn't fancying, but now on the final lap, how desperate is he going to be? This will be a pretty big points margin, he'll feel, going into the latter stages of this championship. If he doesn't get this position, he needs to claw some points back. Felvis and Taylor have already pulled points on him, and he needs to get Smith as they're going thundering towards the bridge here at Snetterton. Under the bridge and into Brundle and Nelson will be Robin Walters on the outside. Brad Smith running very wide and almost forcing Robin Walters off the track there completely if they decided to carry on going 2x2. Smith managing to get it all stopped and checked in to the apex, as I think Carl Felvis is coming through the last corner, has been caught just a touch by Nicky Taylor, but not enough. So it will be another checkered flag dropping for Carl Felvis. Nicky Taylor getting 1 place better than he did in race number 1 and ended up in 2nd place. And I think Brad Smith is going to hold on to that P3 for now, flashing at the lights. He's confident of it. He thinks he's got a good enough run, and I would tend to agree with him. The last podium position going the way of Brad Smith after Robin Walters comes home in 4th place after a terrible lap 1. Still a good recovery drive, but not as good as he was hoping for. Andy Carroll, 2 5th place finishes. It's a strong shout for driver of the day. Thorpe in 6th position. Jones 7th. Paul Zavatechi ends up coming home in 8th. After what was a pretty battered and bruising race there for the Clio Cup. Nathan Blank ended up probably looking looking the wrong way more than he was looking the right way halfway through that race. Ends up coming home in 9th place though, so a fairly good job done by him. Mick Sutton, who, as we mentioned before, our thoughts are with you. I hope you're feeling a little better very soon. Will be coming home just about in the top 10. But Dave, that was a hell of a drive there, wasn't it? And I think we're going to have to think of driver of the day, but while we're doing it and discussing it, probably about time that you maybe chat to our podium sitters.
Yeah, we will indeed. And we'll go straight down to our P3 finisher, Brad Smith, flashing the lights as you come across the line. I'm going to take it you're fairly happy with that result, managing to hold on to 3rd, just ahead of Robin Walters. It was very, very close from putting a move on under the bridge, but it was excellently defended. Yeah, one of them races where you finish and go get in there.
Yeah, he's definitely fast. I definitely that's the wrong button as well. Yeah, he's definitely fast. He was catching me very. He's unreal. He just doesn't make a mistake as well. I was making little mistakes, and he was just counting on every single one.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, a great drive from Robin. Had a very, very difficult race start, managed to crawl it back up behind you. It was also equally good driving to keep him behind you, knowing that he had the pace on you. How hard is it not to just keep looking in the mirror and trying to look forward a little bit and trying to get them lap times back a little bit?
I didn't have to look in my mirror, he was just filling it. I could see it. I was looking at the road and I could see his bright orange car right behind me. But I'm happy with that after the first race. I'm mega happy with that. First podium as well in the Clios.
And it must also be quite nice to be battling someone who you know isn't just going to torpedo you and take you off the track. You know, the trust there, you could see it. Ron was racing hard, but you know there was never really any moments where it was like this is going to go wrong. Brilliant driving between us.
No, yeah, he was hard and fair, I think they say. Yeah, it was a good race.
Well, as you said, first podium. I'm sure there's more to come. You have got the speed in the car there, Brad. Let's see whether you can do anything in the next round out. Huge congratulations.
Lovely, thank you. Hopefully now I've changed my settings again, I'll do a bit better.
Hopefully so, mate. Speak to you soon.
Cheers.
I'll move forward on our P2 finisher, Nicky Taylor. Another solid result, and I tell you what, going into that race, we didn't realise how close it was. On the championship points, you crucially absolutely nailed a lap in there, doing a 2:06.1, I believe, which, you know, if you'd done that in qualifying, would have been a great lap there. But in a race trim with extra fuel on board, what an effort that was, managing just to keep within that very, very tight margin between you and Carl for the championship.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I had to get the fast lap once Kyle has cleared off, because literally he made the most of the two cars that come together, and I couldn't do that until for about a lap more than Kyle, so I knew he was going to go. And then, yet again, I don't know what it is with me in Snetterton, considering it's my home track. I should be mistake-free, but made another mistake on the last lap and almost collided into Kyle, so that could have ended badly, but nah, it's alright. Me and Kyle know how to drive, so.
Well, fair play, Nicky. Well done on bringing it on P2, and also, it is phenomenally close in the championship, so let's see what happens next time you go out round Thruxton. I know you've got good experience around there. It's a track that you do like, full of action. Yeah, let's see what happens, Nicky.
Yeah, not waiting for Thruxton, waiting for Cadwell. Cadwell double win, pole. We'll do that, and then Thruxton, just see how it goes.
Well, let's see if your calculations are right. We'll speak to you shortly, Nicky.
Cheers.
and then move forward onto Kyle Felvis. I mean, what a phenomenal performance, really. It was one of them scenarios where, you know, what more can we say? Like, brilliant.
Yeah, cheers, Dave. I think I said that race 1 was probably my favourite race ever, but I think that race just topped it. Just battling with everyone through the pack, and then when Martin Johnson collided with the other car, it just meant that I could sail on past. I think I sort of showed him my nose, and I think he was looking in the rear mirror and just ended up going into the back.
Well, I didn't want to give you a commentator's curse, because I did say if Kyle can get through there, which sure enough you did. I says, unfortunately, I think for the rest of them, that is race done. Kyle is away. To be fair to Nicky, he did sort of close the gap a little bit towards the end, but I take it you were probably just managing things and bringing it home.
Yeah, I didn't want to risk it too much by going for like lap times. I didn't want to spin. And yeah, Nicky has just pace. He's such a quick driver, but like he said, he made a mistake and nearly spun into me right at the end, and that just secured it, really.
Dare I say, is this too early to be starting to think about the championship now? It's obviously, you know, very, very close on points. I believe it's only separated by about 2 points, maybe, going into the next round. Does that play on your mind at all regarding the championship, or are you just taking each race as it comes?
I mean, me and Nicky, I think, will be evens. Like, I think it will go into Cadwell. It will be a Lewis Max situation for the championship, and it's a shame that Robin's had a couple bad races, because I would love to see him up here in the championship fight with us both. That would make it some good entertainment.
Well, I'm sure we'll be running another championship where that trio of fast drivers can make another appearance for sure. Kyle, it's been an absolute pleasure. Well done on taking a double P1 here at Snetterton, and look forward to seeing what you can do at the very, very flat out Thruxton.
Cheers, Dave.
There we go, Jack. I think he's right. Going down to Cadwell, Thruxton's all to play for, but I think, let's face it, it's all going to be probably decided, not even just at Cadwell, probably race 2 Cadwell.
Yeah, I think he's maybe just writing off Robin Walters a little too early, in my opinion. I think there is a reasonable gap, but it only takes one bad race to see that come plummeting back towards Robin, doesn't it? So, fingers crossed, obviously, we don't see any sort of big incident, but like you can see in the championship, there isn't much between the top two, like Carl was just saying. So Carl Felvis, top of the championship, 136 points. 2 points behind is Nicky Taylor. My goodness, that is close. 134 points. Robin Walters, 117. So like I mentioned, there is a fair old margin, but it only takes one bad race. Mick Sutton in 4th, with Martin Johnson in 5th as well. Very close for the battle for 4th place. Mick Sutton has 93 points. Martin Johnson has 90. And you're looking a little bit further back. Paul Zadatechi, you did have a slightly better round this evening. Well, race 1 particularly. Brad Smith in 2nd place, called himself up ahead of Nathan Blank, who's in 8th. Paul Laramie in 9th, with John Jones in top 10 positions. Kenny Press in 11th, Simon Thorpe in 12th, Andy Carroll in 13th, and Hayden Phillips 14th. Daniel Adams is in 15th place. But Dave, it's been a hell of a week, to be honest, at Snetterton, hasn't it? We've done basically back-to-back. We did yesterday the Super Touring. We've done tonight in the Clio Cup. And I have to say, I'll tell you what, one thing we will do before we sign off is very quickly we're going to do exactly the same as what we did last night with Rich Hayden, who I know is in the Discord chat now. We're going to bring in Rich, mainly Rich, to talk about what we got coming up, including the Mini E-Series.
Yeah, you'll have to excuse me. I'm just doing some laps at Thruxton at the moment, but
well,
yeah.
I've interrupted you nicely there, haven't I?
You have indeed. Yeah. Let me pull into the pits. Yes, so we're really excited. We've got the official Real World E-Series for the Mini Challenge. That's starting on the 16th of December, so Thursday evenings, same time as our Tuesday and Wednesday night races. So drivers free practice from 6:30, qualifying from 7:30, We've already got some entries in from the real world mini challenge drivers. There's quite a few of those that are joining it. So we'd love some sim races to come along as well. It's going to be really good prizes as well. First and second place get a test day in a mini race car, so that's going to be pretty exciting. But also there's lots of other stuff to go with it as well, lots of other prizes. So really looking forward to getting that kicked off in I think 3 weeks time.
Yeah, and the entry, you never know, could be maybe an early Christmas present for the likes of Carl Felvis. You never know. I'm just putting it out there, putting it in the universe. Maybe,
I'm sure Adrian will really appreciate you saying that.
I'm just saying, Adrian. I know you're watching. Like, you never know. But no, I mean, it'll be awesome to sort of witness that as well, and very much looking forward to it. And obviously, there's loads more stuff that we get up to at VRRC during the week, isn't there? Fun races, dirt rally, Forza, everything.
Yeah, loads of stuff. Something for everyone. So, if you are tight for time and you can't dedicate a specific time each week to do some racing, we've got our time attack and our dirt rally stages as well, which are just, arrive and drive whenever you're free. We also do, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. We also do fun races on a Sunday evening, which Dave runs, and they're really popular. Really good race this weekend. We've got the Rallycross at Mallory Park, which is going to be fun. But yeah, we do a little bit of everything. So if you're tired of public lobbies and getting punted off at the first corner, then come and talk to us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Rich, for jumping in and giving us all that information. I'm sure it'll be food for thought for a lot of people out there.
Thank you.
And with that, David, so that time we probably look forward. Maybe you can read us through what we got looking forward to next week.
Yeah, we do indeed. So as usual, we've got our Super Touring car following on from last night. We've got Super Touring at Alton Park, a really challenging track for them cars, a bit narrower than what it maybe feels like on screen when you're watching it. Trust me, when you're on a grid and you're 3 wide going down towards the third corner, the track doesn't feel like there's much room there at all. And then obviously next week we've got the Clios again round Thruxton, infamously fast track and absolutely flat out full of action. So really looking forward to that. Also, I must point out, I've forgot to say driver of the day. I do apologise. I was meant to do it in the interview while Kyle was in there. Kyle Felvis, and I'm sure Adrian's probably watching this as well. Yeah, Kyle Felvis, driver of the day, phenomenal standout drive. Let's see what he can do next round.
Absolutely. If for my money as well, Robin Walters was an honourable mention there, I think, as well.
It was, yeah, definitely.
We mainly gave it to Carl because of the clean nature that he did it in, and obviously dominating. And to be honest, Robin was pretty much just as clean as well. So really well done.
And to be fair, Andy Carroll also had a good vote for me as well. So Andy Carroll, a very good performance after 2 weeks out to come on and bring up 2 top 5s with also a very clean car. Great drive as well, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, it's about time we probably sign off from Snetterton for the Academy Clio Cup and obviously the Snetterton week we've had as well. So if you've enjoyed what you've been watching, then please do like and subscribe. And if you have been watching and you have liked and subscribed and all that sort of thing, then thank you very much in advance. But it's been an absolute pleasure being your host this evening. We hope to see you next week, whether it's the Super Touring or the Academy, for all the action here at VRRC. Big thanks to Dave Marshall, my co-commentator, and of course Tom O'Farrell on the broadcast, doing a stellar job as usual. We'll see you next Tuesday at 7:20. Good night.
The inside of coats, Barker gets too heavily involved. And that's Whitehead and Coates.